Week 5 of the fantasy football season. Here's a few kickers I look to start this week. The first guy, Brandon Aubrey of the Dallas Cowboys. So Brandon Aubrey's come out of nowhere this season for this Cowboy team. And so far, he hasn't missed a field goal at all. He's got good distance, kicking 50-plus pretty easily in the early going. And the only hiccup for him was an extra point he missed in the first game of the year. So right now, 3 out of 4 games, double-digit fantasy points. And once again this week at the San Francisco 49ers, a game where I think this Cowboy team is going to struggle to find the end zone and stall out a few drives where Aubrey will get 2 or 3 opportunities and a few field goals possibly. He's definitely, once again, a kicker I would start. The next kicker, Jason Sanders of the Miami Dolphins. So this Dolphin offense we know is a high-powered offense. But I know Jason Sanders, some weeks he hasn't put up the fantasy points. But this week versus the New York Giants that are a middle-pack type of defense, I think there'll be a few opportunities for him. And I think this Dolphin team's going to put up a big ball game. After getting embarrassed at division rival, the Buffalo Bills, 48-20. I think this offense comes out, puts point on the board, and obviously that means more points, extra points, field goal attempts here for Jason Sanders. So this week here with a pretty decent matchup, and I think this offense getting back on track. He's a start this week. The next kick is Brett Maher of the Los Angeles Rams. So Brett Maher, very surprising this season here for this Los Angeles Rams team. Last year, missed a ton of field goals towards the end of the season for the Dallas Cowboys, but the Rams gave him a chance after the Broncos cut him loose in training camp. And so far, first 4 weeks of the season, double-digit fantasy points in all those games. Here's Brett Maher. I know in last week's game in Indianapolis, he missed 2 field goals, but he still finished the day with 16 fantasy points. So right now, he could kick it from anywhere. Once again, another indoor game, home this time for the Los Angeles Rams. After the last couple weeks, they were on the road. And this is versus a Philadelphia Eagle team, but that's a bend but don't break type of defense where there's going to be opportunities here for Maher. The only thing with Maher's obviously been accuracy, but in terms, he could kick it 50, 60 yards pretty easy. So as long as he keeps the accuracy going and getting the opportunities, once again, he's a start this week. The next kick is Evan McPherson of the Cincinnati Bengals. So this Bengal team struggling mightily this season here. And Evan McPherson has really only had one monster game, 19 fantasy points in week 3 versus the Rams. And the other game, 6 or less fantasy points this year. But this week here at the Arizona Cardinals, I think this Bengal team, they get right a little bit. This Cardinal defense not great at all, especially with Buda Baker out. And this Bengal team, if they go to 1-4 after this game, the season's pretty much done. So I think this week they save the season for now. Offense gets rolling. They're going to rely on McPherson, I think, a lot in this one as well, like they did in week 3 to win that ball game. And this week here, indoor game, good matchup at Arizona, and a team desperately looking to put points on the board. After the last few weeks, they really haven't scored as much here. I got McPherson as a start, and the 5th and final kicker I have as a start this week here is Younghoef of the Atlanta Falcons. So Younghoef so far this season, he really hasn't done much. 7, 11, 7, and only an extra point last week. So this week here, good matchup versus the Houston Texans. That so far been a bend but don't break defense over the last couple weeks. I think Younghoef, he'll have a good ball game in this one. We know he's a way better kicker at home than he is on the road. Obviously, he's comfortable kicking indoors here for this Atlanta Falcon team. And right now, with a good matchup versus the Houston Texans and a game that possibly could be a mini shootout between these two teams, even though I know Desmond Ridder isn't a quarterback that's done much and looked like one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL this season. But right now, Younghoef, like I said, better kicker at home than he is on the road. And now with 2 home games coming up, a good matchup versus Houston, he's a kicker I would start this week. That's a few kickers I look to start here in week 5 of the fantasy football season.